I do want to share some statistics once we get started, but housekeeping first. I'm your girl Yola, and
I'm LA
from the A, and this is Lipstick and Lies, and we are talking about things to just get started on conversations in our community.
Yes,
so we appreciate you for being here. We love you guys. We do want to talk about some current events that are going on first and foremost. So if you haven't gotten vaccinated, I'm not gonna tell y'all to get vaccinated because honey, I've seen so many memes from people saying,
"Well, I don't know. I'm tired of talking about it.
I'm tired of talking about it because they don't care. I don't care. You can be vaccinated or not. But anyway, so the health officials are recommending that if you did get vaccinated, that 8 months later you should get a booster shot. Yeah. All right. Shout out to Shakari Richardson for getting ready to run next week. I'm rooting for her. She smoked weed. They was trying to judge her, but I don't understand this because it's legal in some states. I don't understand that. Side note: R. Kelly is on trial now. I don't know how y'all feel about that.
Chime in about that.
How y'all feel about R. Kelly going to jail for doing the same thing that local drug dealers and pimps are doing? I said it. I did say it. I said it. But if you lock up R. Kelly, y'all got to go back and lock up all these white people too. I'm just saying, violence against women is violence against women. And I mean, sometimes men are also victimized. So I'm not going to just say it's one-sided, but more women are victimized than men.
So 1 in every 5 women are victimized statistically. Every 1 in 10 men are victimized statistically. However, neither one is right. And I think there's more men that's actually victimized than what's recorded because men will be more or too embarrassed to admit and to speak out about it. So yeah, we're gonna go deep today.
Yeah, we're gonna get deep. We get deep every once in a while. We get deep. Every now and then we get a little deep on things. But again, we're not pointing fingers. We're just having conversations to probably bring awareness to some of you and to just have those hard conversations, because in order for us to grow, we do have to talk about the good, bad, and the ugly, right? But with COVID happening last year, people being stuck in the house,
they said the rate has went up.
Oh yeah, of course. Last year alone, 1 in 3 women, 1 in 4 men were physically violent by their partner. And raped. If you say no, they were raped. This is just from the national statistics of statistics. National statistics of statistics. That sounds crazy, right? But last year, with everybody being stuck in the house, you did have a lot of these things happening, and people were actually stuck in the house with their abusers. And we did have, hey Jonathan, welcome.
We're gonna bring you on camera. Yes, sir. Yes.
Jonathan, thank you for joining in.
Yes. So we all have backstage here. We have Mr. Jonathan Williams. We are going to add him into our conversation. So we are about to put him on stage. Let's go. Let's see.
So if you're on this Podbean, hopefully Jonathan can loud so you can hear him. Hey Jonathan, can you hear us?
Hey, how you doing?
Awesome.
Yeah, I can hear you fine.
We're glad to have you
coming on to share this with us.
Thank you for having me. I think this is a great topic that y'all are talking about.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. So one thing I want to get started with is I want to just go over a few facts about male victimization, right? So survey data found that men experience a high prevalence of intimate partner violence, sexual violence, and stalking. Go figure. Because we see this. We see this on social media all the time. I mean, all the time. And normally this is happening or occurring before the age of 25, right? So, and most of them, actually, their first time is before the age of 18. So think about our high school students and the things that they're going through, especially with the pressure being the way it is now. You know, when we were younger, I mean, it was forgotten about maybe a week later because we didn't have social media. And yeah, the bullying is so different. Now you got the cyber bullying or whatnot. The stakes are a little bit higher as far as wanting to fit in and everybody trying to get these likes, right? But let me go into intimate partner violence for men. About 1 in 3 men experience contact sexual violence, physical violence, and or stalking by intimate partner during their lifetime. Nearly 56% of men who were victims of contact sexual violence, physical violence, and or stalking by intimate partner first experience these other forms of violence by their partner before the age of 25. As far as sexual violence, nearly 1 in 4 men in the U.S. experience some form of contact sexual violence in their lifetime. About 1 in 14 men in the U.S. were made to penetrate someone during their lifetime. Forced to penetrate someone in their lifetime.
That's a rite of passage for me sometimes.
Yes. More than 1 in 38 men in the United States experience completed or attempted rape victimization in their lifetime. Among male victims completed or attempted rape, about 71% first experienced such victimization prior to the age of 25 as well. Now, stalking. About 1 in 17 men in the U.S. were victims of stalking at some point in their lifetime, and nearly 41% of male victims first experienced stalking before the age of 25. This is stuff that we do not talk about because it's so hush-hush. Because our men who are supposed to, you know, well, a lot of times are taught what you said to be our protectors, may feel a little less than when they are when they become a victim, and so it's talked about, it's not spoken about. So, from a male point of view, could you give us some, you know, some of your insight or your opinion or whatnot on this subject?
In relation to physical violence, unwanted violence, both physically and sexually, I think it's probably hard for men to speak about because, again, they'll feel judged, as any person would be if they convey an intimate moment that they felt that they couldn't control, or they everybody expects when they're put in a situation that they would know what they're going to do until they get into that situation. In certain situations, you think mentally you can, or physically you can handle until your body shuts down because of the shock of being in that experience like that. So I think it feels embarrassing to men because you feel like if you talk to someone probably make fun of you, or you know, look at you differently. Your view.
We're losing a little connection here.
Jonathan, can you hear me? He can't hear me. His phone stopped. However, Terry Crews did voice out that he was being sexually harassed. And I do want to point out, like, even the beginning when you were talking about the teenagers being victimized and abused, we did do a show on teenage domestic violence and like what that looked like in our community and how it was not being talked about a lot of times. But like I was saying before Jonathan got on, being trapped in the house with your abuser during the COVID pandemic, it was a really hard time for a lot of people.
Yeah.
And just not even having an outlet probably caused even more abuse in some cases. Because if you're looking at an abuser, they probably saw their parent being abused.
Yeah.
9 times out of
Maybe a little
10,
abuser.
right? And so those men that or women that saw their other parent being abused, they probably feel like that's an effective way of being in a relationship. But men don't talk about it, right, Jonathan? They don't talk about it because they don't want to be
Mm-mm.
laughed at. But how many people shunned Terry Crews when he spoke out about violence? Yeah, Jonathan, can you hear us? Because we can't hear you. So I mean, even not even just. I mean, you see it all the time.
I
NBA
can hear you, but I know I'm probably spotty. Can you hear me?
Yeah, it's just lagging a little.
So when you see these stars in the elevator, those football players in the elevator beating up the women, what do you feel about that? How do you feel about that?
Sorry, I was trying to see if I can get better signal. Can y'all hear me better now?
Yeah.
Yep, you
Cool.
can.
Yeah. So
Okay.
like
Great.
on TV all the time, right?
Mm-hmm.
The football players, they wait till they get in the elevator and then they attack the women. And then people that are fans of the football player are upset that they can't play football, but not upset that he just beat up a woman in the bathroom and broke her ribs.
Yeah, that's a touchy situation aspect. I mean, I got my degree in sports management, and I had to do different papers on just talking about, how sports can be barbaric. And sometimes when you train a certain way, there could be just different triggers that make you snap because you kind of go into that psyche on a constant basis. Think about a football player's practicing that physical aggression every day and is honing that skill so that they can be successful in that sport. And sometimes things can snap that put them in a situation where they may make a bad knee-jerk reaction because they have truly strengthened that attack skill, if that makes sense.
But even if someone, right, true. But even if someone, if you had a trigger and you were involved with someone that knew your trigger, even if they just kept pressing the button, like at what point is the abuser like held accountable for self-control? Like you should be able to have self-control. Like we hear that words don't hurt, but we also know that words do hurt.
Yeah.
Even people say words don't hurt, they can't break a bone, but they can break you internally, right? So how like they're taught this skill, but why are they not accountable for not allowing certain things to trigger them?
Well, I had made the statement right before I jumped on that when we talk about abuse, we can't just talk about physical, because physical is apparent because you can see the everlasting scar. But what's deeper and that can become more traumatic is verbal abuse. So the verbal abuse can lead someone to go physical if they don't feel that they can verbally spar back with that person, right?
Also, if they don't know how to argue back.
Sometimes,
so if their vocabulary is limited, because I hear a lot that women are the reason men beat on them. I've heard that, right? Oh, her mouth. She couldn't control her mouth. And I'm like, how does that constitute you hitting somebody that you quote unquote love?
Love is not supposed to hurt, first of all. That's one thing that we hear all of our life. Oh, well, I do it because I love you, or love hurts. That whole cliche, love hurts.
But let's go back.
Love is not supposed to hurt.
Love is not supposed to hurt. But let's go back to what you're taught when you're in 3rd grade. The boy hit you. He just liked you. Brush it off.
Exactly.
So we're conditioned to think if a man likes you, he's gonna hit you,
That part.
or vice versa.
Or he just don't know how to say. So this is what he do. It's been excuses over excuses over excuses.
So when do we hold these people accountable? Like, why
Men
don't
and
other
women.
but
Men and women.
Jonathan, why don't men tell other men, hey man, I don't think you should hit your woman like that? Like, why don't they jump into situations like that?
I think men that have great relationship with men, I mean, it's different if I try to jump in a situation that I have no involvement or I don't know that person. But I would say the group of friends that I have, if I was to step out and do something that we feel is immoral, I would hope that they will reach out to me and let me know that I was wrong and work with me through it. I've had
But
friends. Go ahead.
would they do that? Would they come to you and say, hey man, I think it was wrong when you yelled at your wife in front of all the guys? Would they tell you that? Or would they just be like, that ain't my business? Because we live in a world where that ain't my business, but I'm gonna talk about it amongst our other friends, but I'm not gonna tell you that you were wrong.
I'm gonna record it for social media.
Right.
That's
I think in the actual moment, you may not have that, but I would have to say if you have a true friendship with someone that allows to give you different feedback, it will come up at some point. Your friends should be people that uplift you and help you become better. I'm just trying to think about being in that situation, and anytime that I've seen verbal or physical type of abuse between relationships, as a friend, I've always told my friends that they need to go through relationship counseling. And relationship counseling and therapy is not something for just problems. It's routine maintenance that you would do just to make sure that you're able to communicate. Me and my wife, during good times, during bad times, during the ebb and flow of our love, we take time to try to get therapy so that we're having clear communication and truly being able to communicate to each other. Because again, as a human being, you may have emotions that blur your thoughts and your empathy meter because you're caring about how you feel in that moment. But specifically, yeah, you're going to probably have a lot of people that feel like it's not their business. But I feel like those are not the best friends, right? Those are just people who are cool with you. Now, the tricky part is when you have family, because you don't choose family. And those kind of can be harder situations to jump into to try to correct more so than like a friendship,
Yeah.
So I mean, I was walking, I'm driving. The people were walking down the street, and the lady was getting drugged down the street by her hair. Cars are just passing by. They slowing down to see what happened, but nobody has stopped. Nobody has called 911 or that I know of, or asked the lady, was she okay? So I'm a woman. This is a whole man. I know I can't beat up a man. So I'm not going to try to get out and break them up. But I did slow down and ask her if she wanted me to call 911 to give her some assistance, and to let him know that somebody is watching you drag this woman down the street, and somebody is going to sit here and watch it from their car, because I'm not going to jump in it, because I can't jump in it again, but I'm going to call the police, right? So, but then the man says, because I'm thinking the woman is the victim because she's getting drugged down the street, right? He says she started it. She hit him first. And that's typical. Women are normally the aggressor in a situation.
A lot of situations. I'm not gonna say
because I was shocked to even find that out when he said that she was starting with him. He said he was trying to get away from him, and he just wouldn't leave him alone.
And I can that on partially because I actually experienced a situation a couple years ago where I was staying down in the city, and it was crazy. I'm actually leaving out, and I see this girl. She's in her car, and this dude, she's trying to hit him, right? And so he jumped actually like side, like I don't know how he did this, but it was like he was jumping on the side of the car, and she was just dragging him, and he was like trying to get away, like it was crazy because my thing is if she was trying to get away, she wouldn't stop the car. Like she stopped the car, they go back and forth. It was just a lot. So I mean, I'm not going to talk to them. I stopped my damn car and I called the police while I'm watching them. I didn't want to get myself in harm's way, but I called the police right then and there and like, okay, this is what's going on. Like right here, right now, this is where I'm at. Right. Violence cannot be silent. You know what I'm saying? Like it is just it's baffling to see how so many people are on that. It's none of my business. However, if it was your mother or your sister or your brother or someone that you was close to, a close friend, you would want someone to speak up. You would want someone to have done something to intervene or whatnot to make sure that your loved one was safe. So it really baffles me that people are so.
So what if you? I'm gonna interject. What if you stop them or you say something, then they go back to them, and then it's the same.
But I did my part.
So do you say something every time? Or
you're probably not gonna see it every time. They got caught that time. You know what I'm saying? But what I'm saying is, if I'm saying it, but I'm saying something.
I'm saying, would you say something every time? Because sometimes people get into it every weekend just because this is how they were brought up. I saw my mom and my dad do it.
Women are violent against women. Men are violent against men.
Right.
But I understand what you're saying. But that particular situation,
I'm just saying. But do you, like, when it's your family, do you get involved in it every time?
If it's my family,
every time.
I will say something. I mean, ultimately, they have to make their own decisions for their life. Right?
Yeah.
I will say.
Would you, Jonathan, would you be involved in it every time?
I think I insert myself in ways that the message can clearly get across, right? There's the thing is, when you insert yourself is how do you do it, right? Am I trying to insert myself to say that I'm inserting myself, or am I strategically trying to provide some form of guidance to these two people that I love to help them make a better change in the future? So, if it's something that consistently goes on, then, you have to think about it and say, how can I help if I'm going to take that time? And then if you give or dedicate time to change those two people's lives, you cannot be resentful if they go back and keep doing it, if that makes sense. Because if you're truly doing out your heart to help them, you shouldn't want a certain result that will bring you satisfaction, if that makes sense.
Right. So you just get involved every weekend?
Now, I wouldn't say every weekend. I would say.
Or do you just stop going around because you don't want to be a part of it?
Yeah, if it feels like, let's say we're going over and every time we hang out, there's something like a big blow up argument or something that just feels like not good energy, I'm not going to insert myself into that energy. But if, let's say, my friend calls me and talks to me about a situation that happens, then I would tell them like, hey, after a certain amount of calls, I'd be like, I'm always just going to punch you back. I cannot be a therapist.
Wow.
I can listen to what you tell me, but my job is not to tell you what to do. It's to be a friend so that you can speak. But the person that can truly help you is a therapist because they've been trained on it and they're going to help you get past the passion that you have for seeing it from your viewpoint, right? Like, example, if I go to hit a female as a result of how they cut me vocally, right? The woman or the person that I hit is going to be like, well, they should never put their hands on me. But a therapist will be like, that's true, but you should have never communicated to that person that way. So the action is not met by that force, but that's what causes. It's like triggers. Like
Yeah.
it happens so quick, and then you really never get over a situation like that. That's why in my relationships and being with my wife, I've been always the one that it may seem like I may be passive sometimes, because I'd rather have these thoughts in my head than to feel like I need to say them, right? If I know it's going to cut, I can say it to hurt you, but what would that do?
Right.
Those
Right.
words are going to stay longer. But I think when we talk about physical abuse, we act like it starts physical. No, it always
It
starts
does. I
verbal and
agree.
it escalates.
Right.
I agree.
Verbal,
I agree.
emotional. You're absolutely right.
I agree.
Mm-hmm.
It definitely starts with some words.
Mm-hmm.
No one is just walking up to you slapping, unless they are a true abuser, right?
Yeah.
Because there are people that get intoxicated or on some type of substance that will walk into a situation and just hit you for nothing. But that physical abuse has been going on probably longer in the relationship. It didn't just start, right?
Mhm.
But it mostly started from a look, a word, but it still has to do with the internal feeling that the person, the abuser, has themselves, right?
Yeah.
Whatever my insecurity is, if you say something about short people, I feel insecure about my height, I might haul off and hit you.
Yeah.
Because now I feel like you're talking about me, right? For
Yeah.
being short. I mean, and that's normally, I'm just using that as an example because I'm not going to hit you because I know I'm short.
Or even it doesn't even have to be that deep where we have ill will against each other. It can be the day. As Black human beings in America, we deal with so many moments where we just have to shut up, where we can't express ourselves at work in certain situations, because as soon as we say something, we'll be villainized. So that when we get home, we get in a situation where all that pent up aggression that we've been dealing with all day, and we just snap, because that's the only place we can truly release it. And that's the hardest thing sometimes, is knowing, where do I find a way to release this negative energy, this pain? Is it working out? Is it meditating? But you have to release it, or it'll manifest and move in other areas that you don't want it.
But that goes back to mental illness, PTSD. And when I say Black people experience PTSD at a higher rate than other races, people think I'm crazy. They're like, you still talking about slavery in 2021, but we are still dealing with the aftermath of slavery, because we are still not able to be our true authentic selves. We still are putting a mask on to go out into the world, because that's what's expected of us. We don't have anyone to get to. So home is supposed to be your safe place.
Yeah.
Like this is the only place where I can come and I can be myself without judgment. Right. So I don't need you in this same place judging me. I don't need any, so but we experience that, and it's very sad that it leads into physical violence, because mental abuse is damaging, but physical violence people can see. So they can relate to a physical violence.
Yeah.
I just had an adult woman tell me over the internet that words don't hurt. Grow tough skin. A Black female. Grow tough skin. Words don't hurt. And she's probably a mom, but she's passing that same message on to her kids.
Yeah.
This was told to you probably. You're a big boy, you don't cry, right? So in the world you let to get to. So of course, on the football field, if you play sports, you can be aggressive as much as you want to. You can release that anger and that frustration. So if someone says something to you, then this is easy for me to just jump in and slap somebody. Because now I got all this pent up aggression in me that whoever gonna get hit. You're gonna get these hands. That's the term. I don't act like that. I don't know, because I think a lot of physical and verbal abuse come from you watching it as a child.
Yeah.
Those people that are brought up in survival versus those people that are brought up in love, they view that as a way of life. Like they think it's not love if you ain't arguing with someone.
Right.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, I've always talked with my wife about the roller coaster high, right? So let's say I am a abuser and, I'm in a long-term relationship with someone and I abuse them either verbally or physically, right? That low can take you down to a 0% if we're looking on a scale of 0 to 10. And then let's say, after that experience, I then do something great for that person, and I can take that person up to an 8. So now I can fluctuate the love where when it's high, it feels so great because it's been so low. You know what I'm saying? Compared to being in a relationship where it may be steady, where it may feel boring at times because there's no ebb and flows, there's no super ups, no super downs. So, sometimes you have to look in yourself and like say, okay, is it high because I'm so low? Or does this person really treat me like I want to be treated?
Right. That's really
like Tina Turner, prime example.
yeah.
Yeah.
She had the high of being a celebrity, but at the cost of what?
Right.
Yeah.
This man's temper. But then she took on I'm the reason I'm being abused.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Because if I just sung the song right, if I just got the dance steps in motion,
and that's just so common.
right? It is common.
Mm-hmm.
It's common. And but we look at it most of the time. We look at it from a female perspective, but we really don't talk about the men and the abuse that the men face. Just even being told you ain't never gonna be shit, or
Yeah.
just things like that. You can't get a job. Like black men are beat up.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say they are beat up often, and especially by people that they think that are supposed to love them. You could be in a long-term relationship and then they'll sit there and tell you all the time, you ain't shit, you ain't never gonna be shit, you just like your daddy. And that's supposed to be okay, but those words probably do hurt a man.
Right.
Yeah.
But men don't talk about it.
Yeah.
There's no movie about how men feel when women talk to them like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's again culturally, we've had to endure so much. We had to persevere through so much that we had to create calluses to survive.
Mm-hmm.
And those calluses have been saying that you can't cry, you can't be emotional, you can't put your heart on your sleeve. And I would definitely say my perspective of seeing just like the younger generation. So I'm a millennial, but I think the Gen Zers are more in touch with their emotions because they've been able to be growing up in a more fluid type of environment that allows them to feel compared to my generation, definitely compared to the generation before me.
Our generation. Right. But they're violent in this generation. They're emotional. They are in tune with their emotions, but they act in their emotions and they don't have consequences for their actions when they're in their emotions.
Yeah, I think the most challenging thing society-wise now is we've been able to have some form of dialogue on the internet, which is easier to create a persona or be a certain person when you don't have to directly feel that energy in the moment, right? You feel the backlash maybe the next day after you text or people hit you up. But if you're in that moment saying what you say to someone, like either you're going to have the balls to say it to someone or you not. So I think with the cyberbullying now that people can be more disconnected in communication because they've been communicating, but they haven't been having it face to face.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
But they're not even communicating. You tell somebody you don't like their shoes, they gonna shoot you. I mean, it's just that extreme to me.
Yeah.
Like the lady who lost her life at the Big Bear, she told the man to put a mask on.
Right.
You got mad
right.
because the lady told you about a mask.
Yeah.
You come back and shoot everybody.
Yeah.
You don't even care.
Mm-hmm.
You shoot the police, the cashier. You don't even care.
And I think that was just the tip of the iceberg and whatever.
Yeah.
I don't know what happened even
Whatever
with this new girl. The new girl from the bartender, the guy that just killed her, abducted her and killed her.
Right.
Is that because she turned you down? Because I've been in situations where the girl turned down the man and the man pulls the gun out on her. Like, he didn't pull a gun out on me because I gave him my number. Listen, I got to live for tomorrow. So I'm going to do anything that I got to do to get to the next day. So if that means I got to get your homeboy my number, here, baby, call me right now so I can make sure I got you locked in. That's what kind of, I'm going to go into survival mode, me.
Yeah.
But she was nasty and was like, I don't want to talk to you. And then the man jumped out of a car and held the gun to her head. So then now you're looking at me, well, why they didn't do that to you? Because I gave my number up. This number you can have. 678. I'm not going to die for this number. I'm not dying for this number. I cannot leave my family because I didn't want to give somebody my number. So that's my mindset, right? So you don't know, because you don't know what people are capable of. You don't know what kind of day they had. You don't know. So I'm always nice to people because you don't know. Because they can take off me being rude to them and then shoot me just because they feel like I was rude. Like, no, I'm going to leave you with a smile. I'm going to be nice. I'm going to be pleasant to you. Because guess what? I got to go home. Mm-hmm. But this, because you don't know what this generation, they so volatile.
And it's funny because we actually, it was a big other involved just like that, though. It was a few girls that were sitting outside. I guess it was at a lounge. I don't know. They were sitting outside, though, like patio style. And a guy was trying to talk to them. And they was clowning him. They really were. You know what I'm saying? One of the girls was recording him and everything. And he had enough. He just snapped.
He was embarrassed.
He was embarrassed. He snapped. He went and got his gun. And he just started firing off. And you just saw them run. You know what I'm saying? Like, we don't know, if anyone was injured or not. But people now are so overly emotional.
This generation.
And it's not even that they're in touch with their feelings. They're just
emotional.
And they don't know how to.
They don't want to be embarrassed.
They don't want to be embarrassed, but no, they don't even know how to respond. One thing that, even though it's like kind of a different subject, one thing that I used to talk about a lot, especially with working with teens and dealing in clinical diseases, STDs and all this stuff, right? And we would have parents that would call and bring their kids up to the clinics and, I can't believe I didn't know she was having, or he was having sex with this, that, and the other, or how can I not do this, that, and the other. And the thing about it is like this, and it just goes for society there as well. It does not have to be in that actual lane, but it's like as parents are not teaching the child how to recognize whatever feeling it is that they're having and how to deal with that feeling they're having. That's why a lot of us got caught up getting pregnant young or having sex young or whatever, is because it's one thing to say, don't do this, don't do that, don't do this, don't do that. Even if you're telling me why, don't do this because you might get pregnant. Don't do this because you don't want to have you don't want to be a girl pregnant. Or don't do this because you might get an STD. Or don't do this because it's the consequence. But guess what? When you are the parent is not there when these things are going on, and you have all this peer pressure, and you're having all these feelings that you don't even understand, these emotions that's going all over the place. You don't understand. You don't know how to recognize them. And so because you don't know how to recognize them, you don't know how to deal with them. So you fall for the okey doke every time. And that's how a lot of the generation, the young kids are now. These young adults, it's like they are emotional, but don't even recognize the emotion that they're having. And because they don't recognize it, they don't even know how to deal with it.
Because they say
and the parents don't know how to deal with it because nobody taught them.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So it's just like, man, it's really, really, really sad. So my speaking of domestic violence, my brother was killed 2 weeks ago. And it was due to his baby mama / girlfriend. They have a 3-month-old. And he was stabbed to death. Okay, and so He was a gentle giant, though. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, he's about 6'4", 6'5". She's shorter than me. I'm about 5. I'm a little shy of 5. I'm 5'5".
I'm 5'5".
But anyway, she's shorter than me, right? And so it's like, well, how did this happen? What happened? You know, there was no signs of her having any type of uh, signs of abuse or anything like that. We never even heard of anything, having problems, but there had been times where that was said. I wasn't there, so there's times it had been said that this is not the first time that she was overly aggressive to him. Or her putting her hands on him and he's trying to restrain her. You know what I'm saying? She being the aggressor. And it's like women, we have to actually stop. We have to stop it. Like, he didn't deserve to lose his life over, I don't care what garbage stuff it was. You know what I'm saying?
Was it over Facebook? Because you know they like to argue with somebody else.
She's not really talking.
She
You
can't
know, I don't know what can be
herself.
said, what cannot be said. But at the end of the day, nobody knows anything. They're in the house with 3 kids, 2 teenagers and a 3-month-old. And so like at this point, it's like, okay, so what really happened? And how is it that she was able to stab him to death, being that he's that much bigger than she is? He had to be in a compromising position. He had to be asleep. Something had to have happened for her, for that to have happened. You know what I'm saying? Or she just happened to just hit the right arm. Something. I'm not sure. Either way it goes, it has to stop. Women, stop getting in these men's face thinking that I mean, why even? I don't even understand it. You know what I'm saying? Like the arguments, the choice of words, the trigger words, whatever. A lot of times, especially when somebody that we're intimate with, we know what their triggers are.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? We know what their triggers are. We know what to say to get under their skin. We know what to say to make them upset and mad. You know, and it's just like enough is enough. And if you're unhappy, get the hell on. You know, if you're unhappy, it's time to make some changes. Like it makes no sense, and it's just senseless. We have senseless crimes over stupid shit, and normally it's petty. Normally it'd be something that it ain't changing nobody's life. It's petty. It's very, very, very petty. You know what I'm saying? It's sad. So now you got a son that's about to grow up without a mother or a father. You understand? And so it's just like, yeah, we gotta stop though, because women today are really, really, really overly aggressive, and it's like there's no consequences for women putting their hands on men, but then there won't be but there's consequences for men putting their hands on women.
Women go to jail too for
but it's too many times we've seen where the male might be the woman had been the aggressor. Somebody calls the police and the man still going to jail, or both of them going to jail. You understand what I'm saying? And he might not even put his hands on her and said nothing. And automatically, because he gone. That's not cool. Yeah. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So
because you know what? Because they don't recognize verbal abuse as abuse in the justice system.
That's what I'm saying.
Because they're telling you if somebody say something that you don't like, that you could probably walk away. It shouldn't constitute you putting your hands on somebody.
Yeah.
However, we can all agree that sometimes words hurt. Sometimes words are triggers, and words with a trigger will make you respond in a way that you really don't want to respond. Like you may not even be wanting to hit somebody,
right?
But you say the right thing, and you're gonna black out because you just went there with me. But is that right to say like that's the way that you should control that, or should you step back, count to 10, and think I don't want to go to jail?
Step back, remove yourself.
Yeah,
but you always have a choice at the end of the day.
But even in those choices, even if you, and I just gave you an example of being in the back and drag the woman down the street because she wouldn't let him go.
I understand that.
Because you see them all the time. Get out.
Yeah.
On TV, be like, get out. But then they lock the door.
Yeah. That's the hardest part with the imagery from, I love rap music, from all of the urban movies like Waiting to Exhale, all these things that express pain and passion the wrong way aids into us kind of keep doing that because we've kind of been normalizing or accepting that, right?
Yeah. So we are desensitized to certain things because we see it over and over and over.
yeah, like it's hard to explain because I would tell, like, sometimes me and my wife just talk about rap music. I've grown up loving rap music, but I would tell someone my household was so sound that I was able to look at rap music almost like a middle class white kid, like an experience that I didn't truly live, but I enjoyed hearing about it.
Mhm.
Right, so therefore it wasn't trauma for me, so I'm able to separate rap music from my life because that's
Right.
not my life,
Right.
but it is some people's lives. It is experiences that
So,
they've experienced in their life or have been connected to, and so it makes things okay,
right.
because they're hearing it over and over again.
Yeah. Or they want to live or imitate that.
Imitate.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's not necessarily the artist. Plies is a prime example of that to me.
Yes.
Plies is not the music that he makes, right? He tells a story, right? He's a great storyteller. I tell people these are stories. It's not their life. It's their story. Because most artists are weird. Like the real hardcore criminals are not making music in the studio.
Right.
That's not them. It's the nerdy kid who was in this room on his instrument saying, "Oh, that sounds tight." But then now I gotta act like I'm this image because society is expecting me to be these things that I said in this song, and I'm nothing like that.
Yeah.
Right. So now I gotta walk around with a gun. Now I'm trying to shoot people just because the Whip Nene dude. What's his name? Oh my God, what's that guy name? You know, he said, "Watch me whip."
I know
Nene. The song was every culture likes this Whippin' Nene song. Yeah. Now you indicted for murdering your cousin. Yeah. Like, you didn't want to do that. That violence wasn't a part of you. You was, you know what I'm saying? And however you do the Nene. I don't know how to do these dances. But now you're a criminal. Now you're in prison.
Yeah.
Because society has forced you into this is what you're supposed to be doing. And that ain't who you are. Right? So that violence right there is, it's domestic violence, it's violence of men, violence against men. Y'all watch boxing, that's violence, but it's a sport.
Yeah.
How is make sense? How is that possible? Wrestling is violence.
Yeah. Football is violent.
Football is violent. Hockey, violence. So this country thrives and profits. Profit. You listen to the word what I'm trying to tell you. They profit off of violence. But then when it shows up in suburban America, now it's a problem. We have to figure out something to do. Right?
Yeah.
But we be making money off of the violence.
That can't make money off of this problem. Come on.
We making money off of it. We making money off of it.
And they're making money off of it when someone go to jail for it. So money's being made off of violence in all aspects.
Private organizations. Because why is the state sending you to a private organization to get them some money? I don't know. It's so much that's wrong with them saying in one hand we got to put money together to try to educate people on this, but then we are accepting money for you to watch it over here.
Yeah. Well, I think just hearing the whole conversation, right? We expressed and we kind of came to the decision as well. I'm hearing from you. It starts with emotion, and that emotion can be reaction to verbal abuse or physical abuse. But if we don't know how to feel in moments, then we're going to react or we're going to lash out. So if as a parent, I don't know how to teach someone how to feel and decipher their feelings, then I have to go to mental health and I have to go to a counselor and I have to take my child to a counselor. And that doesn't mean that I have to put them on any psychiatric drugs or be identified or labeled, but I have to try to be educated on learning how to communicate, my language to that person. I know in a relationship, me and my wife, we love the 5 love languages. Well, that book is not only for relationships, they have a children's series. They have multiple
Okay.
different things to understand how to communicate love to one another.
So that's I mean, education is important in all of these things, but mental, like speaking to a counselor, mental health is important. We
Mhm.
talk about that counseling. You just said just to go because I think you should go just because.
Mhm.
Because you can always use somebody that's on the outside giving you some information or a skill to try to pick up to try to help you do better in life. But our community, because I can't talk for other communities, they don't see going to counseling or therapy like that. When I used to tell people I have to go to therapy, they say, "Oh, you crazy."
Yeah.
Mhm.
I'm crazy because I'm going to a counselor. Right. But I'm going to a counselor because I need help.
Yeah.
Right. Because I don't know how to deal or how to compartmentalize things that have happened to me. So I don't know how to show up as the best version of myself. But talking to a counselor kind of helped, kind of didn't help, mostly helped. But you know, I still ended up in jail. But that's just a different thing. Maybe that just wasn't the counselor for me, right? Maybe my counselor was someone else, right? But I mean, that's just my truth. So, but I do agree, therapy is much needed. Educating people about different ways of dealing with people is definitely needed. But I mean, I would just go on record as saying, keep your hands to yourself. Period.
Yes.
Yeah. But
Period.
I agree with both you guys.
Stop using words that
yeah.
hurt people.
Yeah.
Treat
And
somebody
that is
treated.
people definitely understand that no one can really tell you how to feel and whatever it is that you're going through, right? Your feelings are yours, genuinely, they're your feelings. However, the problem comes when it's the action that's behind those feelings and emotions is what becomes right or wrong. You know what I'm saying? So it is back to what you were saying, Jonathan, as far as recognizing, learning how you're feeling, how you feel, recognizing and being able to articulate what that is. Because if you know what I'm saying, if you can identify it, then the action that comes behind it may not be as quote unquote severe, especially when we're talking about this as far as domestic violence. I mean, and that's what happens a lot. People, everyone is entitled to how they're feeling. Something may happen to me. I may feel a certain way about it. The same thing may happen to Yola. She may feel a different way. Something might happen to you, and you have a whole different feelings. But the thing about it is the reaction is how you react to those feelings and those emotions that you're having. And those people that are doing these things are people that do not know how. They don't know how to communicate what they're feeling. And so they go to violence.
Because the parents were taught big boys don't cry.
I understand how that.
So they broke. The parents are broke. Then the parents are raising kids that are broke. And then you try to say, well, I'm going to be a whole person for my kid. But then you send them out to public school or to any place in general. And then they are picked on for not even having that same kind of outlook that the broken person had. And the broken person really try to pull the whole person into brokenness with them. Now the whole person thinking something wrong with me because I'm not broke. And it's just...
Yo, not to cut you off, and sorry about that, but we're all broken. Nobody's perfect. Nobody does not have flaws. And I heard a quote that I love. I mean, a broken crayon still colors.
It does.
You understand, is someone going to understand you for your flaws and try to assist you to be better, and you do the same? And that goes for your friends. If test your friend out. Tell them a situation and then see if they amp you to do something that is not morally right to another person, or they like, hey, you should just do X, Y, and Z. If they give you bad advice in that situation, you probably shouldn't keep going back to them for advice because they're going to go down the wrong.
But then you acting funny. So now I got a problem with your boundaries. Now your boundaries are making me feel like it's something wrong with me, which it probably is.
Mm-hmm.
But Jonathan, we know you have to go, but I appreciate you because it's time for us to go too.
Yes, yeah.
Really do
Jonathan.
appreciate you.
Conversation with y'all.
Hey, Jonathan. Hey, don't forget, you gotta. Hey.
Did you email me? That's the question.
Hey, not yet, but I got you.
So it's not on me.
It's on me.
So do you have can you give us your closing thoughts
before you go?
Closing thought. Let me think before I speak.
He said broken crayon still color.
Yeah.
That's a quote for you.
You already know my closing thoughts.
He ain't gave us
Oh,
his closing thoughts.
I'm talking.
Oh,
I thought he, you all said, I thought he
Oh,
said, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Jonathan.
I don't even know if I can sum it all up in one thing, but if you're in a situation where you feel like you're not being treated fairly physically or emotionally, seek help. That's the first. I want those people who don't feel like they're in the right relationship to figure out how to get out of it.
Right.
And don't make excuses, because yes, you may be dealing with someone that is dealing with a lot of trauma and they're putting that trauma on you, but you don't need to save that person. You need to save yourself first. Just like if you're on an airplane and the plane starts to go down and the masks come out, you put your mask on first.
I tell people that all the time. Right. The Bible tells them that too. Remove the fleck out of your own eye before you try to help somebody else. If you're going to use the Bible as a reference. But Jonathan, I appreciate you. I got some employees. I got, I'm gonna hit you up. I'm gonna email you. We're gonna get to this money, okay? Let's get to the money.
And keep having these conversations.
Yes, the hard ones, right?
Mm-hmm.
Let our community know that somebody loves them, somebody looking out for them. Mm-hmm. That's why we're here.
Yeah.
But again, thank you, Jonathan. I appreciate you.
All right, I'm looking for that email.
I'm
sorry to hear about your brother. I'll definitely be praying for your family.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. All right. Well, we signed off. Thank you so much, Jonathan. And we will see you soon.
I'm going to email him soon. If you are experiencing domestic violence and you need help, you can call 1-800-799-SAFE, which that breaks down to 7233 in case you got a rotary phone. I doubt it. No one has such rotary phone now. But once again, that number is 1-800-799-7233. I will post it up in the comments. My closing thoughts. Hey. No? I don't even need to think about it. Just keep your hands and feet to yourself. Keep your hands, feet, and other others to yourself. You learned that in kindergarten. Whoever told y'all words don't hurt, they lied. Because words do hurt. Y'all know they do. That's why some of y'all sitting around here crying on the inside right now because somebody hurt you with some words. So be a good human. That's my closing thoughts. Be a good human. What are your closing?
You know, my closing thoughts is something I always say, which is 4 agreements.
But which one of the 4 agreements?
All of them.
Okay.
Get the book.
Don't let somebody word.
No. The first agreement is. This just gave me a brain fart. I did. Be impeccable with your words.
Be impeccable with your words.
Watch what you say. Because your words truly has the power to break life or death. Okay? Also, the second one is don't take things personal. If someone says something to you that you just are not in agreement with, it has nothing to do with you. Normally, it's a reflection of them and their character.
Right. So when these grown women call me ugly, I'm like, girl, you don't even believe that yourself.
All right. Number 3. You know what number 3 is? Never assume. And number 4 is always do your best.
Well, I always do number 3.
I'm just saying, guys, get into your personal development because it will definitely change your life.
Right. While y'all focusing on others,
definitely change your life.
Focus on this person.
Focus on you.
Focus on
And it's
yourself.
okay to focus on yourself. It's all right to be a little stain with you.
It's okay. And then what else?
I just understand that your actions do have consequences.
Every time.
You feel what you're gonna feel, that's fine. But learn and understand what you're feeling, be able to connect with your emotions, and don't necessarily react to everything. You know what I'm saying? Take a step, like you said earlier, take a step back.
Hey, listen,
processing things.
What keeps me out of trouble is jail.
Every
There's a
time I
see
for your actions,
I don't want to go to jail. I'm not going to do anything that's going to go keep me in jail.
I'm just going to take your advice. I'm not going to.
Yeah, because you have to wear other people's panties when you're in jail. Like, listen, you're doing those kinds of things, but again, it's not good. But if you are the abuser, maybe you go see a counselor.
You definitely seek help.
If you are the girlfriend or the boyfriend that's aggressive, find out why. If you're jealous, find out why. Maybe that's not the person for you. Because the right relationship is not going to have you acting a fool. The right relationship is
quote unquote being toxic.
Right. So y'all love that word.
Right.
They love that word. Yeah. Toxic. Right? Because we all are emotional at some time.
We are emotional people.
But just be
human.
Just be honest with yourself, and it's not even just physical, emotional abuse, verbal abuse, sexual abuse. It's really just it's you just being a good human at the end of the day. We appreciate y'all for tuning in. I'm not gonna say go get vaccinated, but listen, these numbers are going up. Y'all want to be on lockdown? Say the word, because here it is. And I don't want to be stuck in the house again. I don't want to be stuck in the house. I want y'all to do right. Just do right. Be good humans. It ain't just about you. Stop being selfish. Think about the other people around you. It ain't just about you. It ain't just about you. It's about other people. It's about my mama, my grandma. It's about everybody else. So stop thinking that it's just you. Because when you breathe, somebody else is breathing the air you just breathed out. Yeah. I'm just saying.
I know it just sounds nasty.
It sounds nasty, but that's the truth.
It is.
When you cough, it's going into somebody's mouth. Understand that. Understand that. So be a good human. You are your brother's keeper. Get help. Your sister's keeper. Get help. Counseling is real. Counseling. Hey, they even got counseling where you don't even have to go online. I mean, you don't have to go in. You can go online. Talk to somebody. Talk space. That's what it's called. Call me up. Talk to me. Love y'all. Catch y'all at the beaches
or the banks.
Cause don't nothing move until the money
moves.
And we see y'all next week. Same place, same time.
See y'all.
And